Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Wednesday, November 1st. Ian Cameron with you, ready to break down the Wednesday card. 4 games on tap in NHL action tonight. Alex B. Smith is away one more day. Expecting him back tomorrow with a much bigger card. It'll be a longer show, so Alex is aiming to be back with us tomorrow. We got 4 games tonight. We only had 2 games last night in the NHL on a Tuesday, likely due to the fact that it was Halloween, so the NHL didn't want to schedule nearly as many games, but we did have 2 games, and typical Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, nothing new here, nothing different. A weeknight home game, especially early in the week, sterile environment, crowd dead as a doornail, and basically the team on the ice reflecting that crowd atmosphere last night against the Los Angeles Kings. Just a dismal, dreary, sluggish, just that kind of performance once again from the Leafs last night as the LA Kings take a 4-1 win against Toronto last night. It's like we can't even be surprised anymore. This has been shit that we've seen for years, out of the Toronto Maple Leafs. No question, these bad, sluggish games in the early part of the week, especially when they play out a conference. I find they're even worse in these games when they play a Western Conference team. Look what happened a couple weeks ago on a Monday night when they played the Chicago Blackhawks. It's not like Chicago's ringing up the wins this year necessarily, and they went into Toronto and beat this team, and it was a similar sluggish night that night for Toronto as well. So they had another one of those last night, but at the same time, credit the LA Kings. The LA Kings have been a team this year where really it's been their offense that's carried the way. They've been certainly an improved team as far as putting the puck in the net, and why wouldn't they be when you bring in a Pierre-Luc Dubois? You see Quentin Byfield starting to really get comfortable. Trevor Moore, your depth forwards, off to a pretty good start to the season. There's definitely ability to score goals, but their defensive game at times hasn't been there. Well, it was there last night. It was a terrific defensive effort for 60 minutes for the Los Angeles Kings last night, really clamping down on this Toronto team and a Leaf team that was just frustrated, couldn't get to the middle of the ice, really couldn't generate sustained zone time in the offensive zone, and solid effort in net from Cam Talbot. They made life easy on him last night, but he made the saves when they were there to be made, and it was a very solid effort from the LA Kings. I was so bitterly disappointed, though, and frustrated with the fact we didn't cash in our bargain bin on Trevor Moore. Trevor Moore did everything but score last night. He played a terrific game. He had actually, I think, a couple of assists. What a beautiful dish to Philip Deneau in the first period to give the LA Kings their second goal. Everything but finish, everything but find the back of the net for the LA Kings last night from Trevor Moore, but he had a hell of a game, and so did the LA Kings as they go on the road and take care of Toronto by a score of 4-1. And then the other game last night, Nashville, Vancouver, great job by the Canucks. I actually ended up jumping in on Vancouver closer to a puck drop. I think around 4 or 5 Eastern time, we found out that Kevin Lankinen, not UC Saros, would be in net last night for the Nashville Predators, and that ended up being the difference maker for me. I said, I'm going to take Vancouver now at this, even though the price was like -135 to -140. I still ended up getting involved, and Vancouver gets the job done 5-2. The game goes over the total. We had a piece of that as well in the game last night. And a few props did cash. Ilya Mikheyev got an assist. We took the goal and the assist prop for him in that game. Another game where Quinn Hughes goes over 2.5 shots on goal. Nothing new or different there. That's all the guy keeps doing is registering his 3+ shots on goal, it seems, every game. What a start to the season for Quinn Hughes. I think he's got 11 points, a double-digit plus-minus rating as well to begin the season. So he's been extremely good for the Vancouver Canucks. And look, he had a solid year last year. I think he's taken his game to another level. I think Quinn Hughes is ready to arrive at the I'm an elite defenseman in the National Hockey League conversation, and certainly in the mix, at least through the first month of the season for the Norris Trophy. There's no question. He's in the conversation right now with how well he has played on the blue line for the Vancouver Canucks, who continue to also become a better, tighter, stronger defensive team. Really, this has been a continuation of what we saw down the stretch of last year under Rick Tocchet, just trying to instill some defensive fundamentals and principles and get that defensive play tighter, stronger. because this was a team that couldn't keep the puck out of their own net. If you remember back to last year at this time, which was the waning days of the Bruce Boudreau era, man, this team was just a mess defensively. Penalty kill was embarrassingly bad. It's just amazing to see how all of it has really improved significantly for this Vancouver Canucks team here the last few weeks. Yeah, JT Miller found the back of the net as well for the Canucks. We also had a Colton Sissons. It wasn't a great night in terms of the goal props. We took some shots, and that's what happens when you take some shots. You're going to have dry nights every now and then. It was Canada Dry, not the ginger ale. It was Canada Dry as in winners for the goal props, the longer shot goal props. But we did have Colton Sissons in that Nashville game, which was good to see at plus 470. But solid effort from the Vancouver Canucks last night. They get the win 5-2. Hat trick for Elias Pettersson as well. I have to remind myself, Pettersson on Vancouver wants to be called Elias Pettersson. Lindholm on Calgary wants to be called Elias Lindholm. So go figure. They're both Swedes, and yet Pettersson wants to be called Elias. Lindholm wants to be called Elias. So it is what it is. But Elias Pettersson ends up getting the hat trick last night for the Vancouver Canucks in that game. Well-deserved. Terrific night for him. Terrific night overall for the Vancouver Canucks. All right, let's turn our attention now to Wednesday. We've got 4 games on tap. We'll start in the city of brotherly love. Buffalo Sabres, Philadelphia Flyers, minus 110 even money here, both sides, 6.5 being the total here in this game. Sabres trying to get on a little bit of a streak here. We'll see if they can get on some kind of a run. I thought they played one of their most complete games of the season. I watched a good portion, even though there was a lot of NFL going on at the same time. I am a guy that grew up a Sabres fan and definitely wanted to see how they played against a team like the Colorado Avalanche. I was thoroughly impressed. I didn't see that coming. 4-0 shutout win over Colorado and just completely stifle this team. Like, you would only need one hand. Hell, you may have only needed 1 or 2 fingers to count the number of high danger and quality scoring chances the Colorado Avalanche had in that game against Buffalo on Sunday. Now, that's how impressive it was. It was a really, really strong game, complete team effort from the Buffalo Sabres in that game, and we'll see if they can keep it going. Now, this has been the issue at times with the Sabres this year. We get all excited about them when they play well, and in the next game, they shit the bed and they can't follow it up. This is not a team that has won 2 in a row yet this year. You know, they beat Tampa Bay. They lose the next game to Calgary. They beat the Islanders. They lose the next game at home to Montreal. They beat Ottawa on the road 6-4, and they lose to New Jersey 5-4 the next game. Then they bounce back, of course, with the win against Colorado on Sunday. You know, you got to be able to prove you can win 2 in a row. They certainly have the potential to do that here. Philadelphia has kind of gone back downhill again, which, look, Torts can only ride these players for so long with the work hard, the work ethic mentality. The talent's just not there compared to other teams. The depth is just not there compared to other teams. And at some point, that's going to start showing up here for the Philadelphia Flyers. And we are starting to see that already. You know, you gone through the first couple weeks of the season off work ethic and, you know, and being very sturdy in your own end. But eventually, you've got to be able to score goals consistently. And that's still, I think, going to wind up being a bit of an issue for Philadelphia. They lose 3-2 to Carolina, had their chances, but couldn't find the back of the net. They're now 1-4 in their last 5 games. They're competitive. I mean, they are right there in every single game, even the losses. They continue to be a competitive group, other than the Anaheim game, which got away from them early. You know, the other 3 losses were all 1-goal defeats. So it's not like Philadelphia has been just absolutely crushed here in these games, but they're finding ways they don't get that key save when they need it. They can't score the big goal when they need it in a close game. And that's been the difference. The margin has been razor thin, but they have just not been able to get that key moment in a game when they've needed it. Both of these teams, by the way, middle of the pack as far as expected goals. When you look at these teams, you would think Philadelphia has been a little bit better defensively than Buffalo this year, but you actually look at expected goals allowed this year, expected goals. Now, this is not goals. This is expected goals. Buffalo is actually slightly better in that statistic compared to the Philadelphia Flyers. So I think that's significant here when you look at this game tonight. You would think that Buffalo, based on what you've seen, you know, has definitely had the worst of it in terms of the defensive end, but it hasn't been the case. There are some injuries for Buffalo. Eric Comrie remains on IR, for them. Jack Quinn, of course, we won't see him for a while. Connor Clifton remains out serving the suspension. Zach Benson is now day-to-day, the first-round draft pick with an injury. Carter Hart and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, by the way, are the confirmed goalies here in this game. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen was a big part of the story as to why they were so good against Colorado. It was probably his best game, no question about that. He started the Ottawa game. They won. He gave up 4. Started the New Jersey. The New Jersey game is the game Eric Comrie got injured. He entered the game after Comrie got injured, and then he had that 23-save shutout against Colorado. But UPL really had a good team effort in front of him. You look at this price, though, I think because of the fact Philadelphia's played better hockey to start the year, they've actually been solid at home, albeit they've lost their last 2 home games. I think you're getting a discount here on what I still think is the better team, and that's the Buffalo Sabres. So I like Buffalo here a little bit, minus 110. I'm not going crazy on this one. It's a smaller bet for me because of the fact Philadelphia has been a feisty group. But I think if you look at this matchup here, if you're the Sabres, you've played a tough schedule too. Let's keep that in mind if you're the Sabres. You played Tampa already this year. You played the Rangers this year, who are good teams. You've played Ottawa. You've played New Jersey. You've played Colorado. You have played a really, really good group of teams here lately. I can't say necessarily the same about Philadelphia. Edmonton's had a bad start. Minnesota's underwhelming. Anaheim. They have played Carolina, Vegas, and Dallas. Those are 3 good opponents. But Buffalo's really been a team that's played a pretty tough schedule lately. A chance now maybe to slip back down into an easier foe here, a winnable game. So I like Buffalo here. I could only look over the total in this game as well. And it's purely based on series history right now for the Sabres and the Flyers. You're talking about 9-1 to the over between Buffalo and Philadelphia here in the last 10 games. That's a huge, huge disparity as far as overs are concerned. Last year, 2 of the 3 games went over. I mean, every game in Philadelphia has gone over. We've seen 6-3 Buffalo, 5-2 Philly, 4-3 5-3 Buffalo. Buffalo's actually won 2 of the last 3 meetings in Philadelphia against the Flyers, and Buffalo has actually won 7 of the last 9 meetings wait a minute, let me make sure I get this right. 6-2 they are. 6 of the last 8 meetings they've won. 6-8 for the Buffalo Sabres. 6-2 they are, Buffalo, in the last 8 meetings against the Flyers. So I like Buffalo a little bit, like the over a little bit here, 6.5. One thing I got to see from the Sabres, while it was a nice defensive effort against the Avalanche on Sunday, I should say. Let's see them do it again. The consistency has eluded this group. We'll see if they can finally bring it here tonight as far as 2 good, strong efforts from the team at both ends of the ice in a row. Prop-wise here for this game, you would want to probably stick to a lot of I think Rasmus Dahlin, actually, goal prop, assist prop is worth a look. He's got goals in back-to-back games, and he's on a 9-game point streak right now for the Sabres, really starting to backing up the big money contract he signed in the offseason. That's what you want to see. You sign a guy like that, you want to see him produce, not, level off, because how many times do we see that in sports? Sign the big money deal, and then it's like they put their feet up on the couch and say, our work is done. We got the money. Not Rasmus Dahlin. He's gotten off to a very strong start this year after getting the bag in the offseason. So his goal prop, his assist prop, well worth a look here in this game as he continues to man the number 1 power play unit. Of course, Dylan Cousins, I bet the props for him, most nights. He's somehow, some way, most nights getting on the score sheet. He's gotten points now in 5 of the last 6 games. So the goal prop and the assist prop for Dylan Cousins makes sense to me. And how about this guy? Don't sleep on him. Starting to heat up. JJ Peterka. JJ Peterka here for the Buffalo Sabres with goals in back-to-back games. On the Philadelphia side, I think there's some value in Bobby Brink. He scored a couple of goals last time. He's gotten 4 points in the last 3 games. He's playing on the power play right now, number 1 unit for the Flyers. So I think Bobby Brink's got value. Cam Atkinson's been lighting it up lately with goals in 2 of the last 4 games, 4 points during that span. Konechny's always someone that's capable of contributing. I took a shot with Morgan Frost too last game. They've moved him up the lineup a little bit. There's another one of those Ian Cameron prop specials where we target the player that's moving up the lineup and is underpriced as a result, mispriced as a result. And Morgan Frost is centering the second line right now for the Flyers with Tyson Forster and Travis Konechny, and someone that's been a healthy scratch all year. So he should want to show John Tortorella what he's capable of. And then the other one I'll mention is Owen Tippett. Streaky player, but he's gotten points in 4 straight, goals in 2 of the last 3 games. Definitely some options there as far as the Flyers go. In a game, I think we will see some goals tonight between those 2 teams. All right, Dallas and Calgary. We've got Dallas minus 135, road favorites, 5.5 the total, shaded to the over. It's up there now with the Stars at minus 135 as road favorites. But for me, it's do not bet Calgary until they show me something. Okay, we're not going to guess that this is the night Calgary snaps out of the skid. We're not doing that, especially when we see the way they played in that outdoor game. It's not like Edmonton was rolling into the Heritage Classic Sunday night with a boatload of momentum. Now, I know they got Connor McDavid back, which was a huge boost for them in that hockey game, but it's not like Edmonton was going in there with confidence. And if you watch that Heritage Classic on Sunday night, Edmonton was in control of that game. I mean, Calgary was actually pretty fortuitous. The game was as close as it was for as long as it was. And right now, this is a Flames team that's just in a bad way. Can't score. Offensively, they're in the same predicament right now as what we saw last year, where the chances, what's funny? Even the chances and the shots on goal that usually Calgary's good for 30, 40 shots, we haven't even seen that from them the last 3 games. So the chances and the shots are dwindling. And obviously, look, it's hard for them to score sometimes when they shoot 40 times. Now they're only shooting in the mid-20s, and obviously it's going to be even harder for them to score goals. I mean, this team's been absolutely inept as far as offense is concerned. We're looking at a team that scored a grand total of 6 goals in 5 games. That's not going to cut it. It's not going to win you hockey games. And now you hear the scuttlebutt coming out of Calgary yesterday, this real sordid problem now with the free agents to be, that they want no part of negotiating with general manager Craig Conroy right now. They said, nope, we're shutting down all the discussions right now. We don't like what's going on here. We don't like the start we've had. Why the hell would we bust our ass to negotiate a brand new contract extension when we're not happy and we see this team struggling like it is right now? So you better believe that is not something that is what I consider a bet-on situation. When I look at the Calgary Flames right now, Hanifin, you go on down the list, there's just multiple. Hanifin's the main one, but there's others that just, we're not talking about contract extensions. We already had issues coming out of last year with this team. We thought maybe this year things would be different. New head coach and Ryan Huska, and sure enough, it's not been that kind of start. By the way, do you guys notice this? I've noticed this. Ryan Huska's got a ridiculous resemblance to Pierre Maguire. Like it's really uncanny. Like Ryan Huska looks a lot like Pierre Maguire. And if he keeps this up, he's going to have Pierre Maguire's head coaching record pretty soon, which wasn't very good. So that's another similarity that might be developing there. But nevertheless, yeah, Calgary definitely has a lot of issues right now. Can't back them. Question is, do I want to lay a minus 135 price with Dallas? Not so sure, but I could only look at the Stars in this game. Now, last year, and for the most part, Calgary's always been a tough out for the Dallas Stars. There's no question. Dallas has won 5 of the last 7 between these 2 teams. Last year, there were 3 head-to-head meetings. They were all close. They were all overs as well. Pretty crazy. So, I kind of have to lean over, especially when I see 5.5s here. And I see that last year we saw 6-5 Calgary in Dallas. We saw 5-4 Calgary in Dallas. And we saw 6-5 for Dallas in Calgary in overtime. So I definitely think in this game here, you've Ottinger had a great point. And there's Alex in the chat. So Alex, I'm not on the show today, but he'll be back tomorrow. He's in the chat right now, pointing out that Jake Ottinger has really had a tough time against Calgary. You're right. His numbers are not Jake Ottinger-like against this particular team. 4.21 goals against, 887 save percentage. So I am going to get in on that over 5.5. It's 5.5 minus 120. If anything, Calgary is going to be focusing on offense tonight. They know that's what has to get better. They know that's what has to change. They have to work on their offensive game. Now, it's not going to be easy against a pretty good team like the Stars, but sometimes styles make fights and matchups do. And we had 3 wild shootouts between these 2 teams last year. Every game had 9 goals or more, and 2 of them were 6-5. between these two teams. So the over 5.5 for me in this game. Dallas at, I probably will take Dallas, but I'll probably take them with the -1 regulation sprinkle to get a little better value. I think that's exactly what I'm going to do here with the Dallas Stars in this game. -1 is at a +136 price at Pinnacle, and in regulation is +123 at Pinnacle. So, and that's what I'm going to do from now on. If I'm going to take a favorite and not on the full game money line, if I'm going to take them in the -1 regulation, I'm going to split between them both because I don't want a Boston Bruins to occur too many times like what happened the other night when I went with only Boston in regulation against Florida. And sure enough, Boston wins in overtime. So at least if I split it between regulation and -1, if Dallas wins in overtime, sure, I'll lose the regulation bet, but I will at least push the other half of that bet, which is -1. So that is probably the approach I'm going to be looking to take more here in this game moving forward. There are some props that stand out here for this game. We're seeing a lot of changes here with Calgary. And look, it's not like Elias Lindholm. It's not like Nazem Kadri and Jonathan Huberdeau, are absolutely lighting it up right now for the Calgary Flames. They do get Rasmus Andersson back as on defense tonight, which is big. From his 4-game suspension. That will help. He'll man the #1 power play. I could see Rasmus Andersson props actually being worth a look. He'll be fired up to rejoin the lineup. I think he'll be more aggressive, too, in terms of joining the rush. We kind of saw it from him before the 4-game suspension. This is a guy that had 3 points and a goal in the 5 games before his suspension. So maybe some Andersson props. They got Matt Coronado on the #1 power play unit. So Coronado, especially goal prop and maybe a power play point prop there. We also have Connor Zary entering the lineup here, recalled from the minors, making his NHL debut for the Flames tonight. 1 goal, 9 assists down in the American Hockey League with the Wranglers this year. So you take a shot with Connor Zary. The players that join the team make their NHL debut. You're going to be amped up, certainly, to make an impact. On the Dallas side of the equation here, as far as their props go, Wyatt Johnston is probably always the one I'm favoriting more than the rest. And right now, look at what he's done. I mean, the last 4 games, 3 goals and 6 points in the last 4 games for Wyatt Johnston. So there's no question Wyatt Johnston, my favorite player prop on the Dallas Stars side here tonight, entering this game against the Calgary Flames. All right, next up, we've got St. Louis and Colorado. The Avs are a big -230 home favorite here, 6.5 being the total in this game. And by the way, as you would expect, Ottinger-Markstrom, your goaltending matchup in that Dallas-Calgary game. It's Jordan Binnington for St. Louis. And how about Ivan Prosvetov getting the nod here tonight for the Colorado Avalanche in this game? It would be his first career start for the Colorado Avalanche. We'll see if he's able to help this Colorado team. Just all of a sudden, they've got to turn things around off back-to-back shutout losses to the Pittsburgh Penguins and Buffalo Sabres to end that road trip. So pretty amazing that Colorado, you would not expect them to be one of those teams that would get shut out, get blanked, get goose-egged in back-to-back games. But that's exactly what happened for the Colorado Avalanche. So now they come home off a road trip. That's also a spot that's a little bit troubling right now for the Colorado Avalanche. We don't know what we're going to get from Prosvetov. All we can do is we can base maybe a projection of what he might play like tonight based on what he did last year. And his numbers last year weren't very good. 4.03 goals against average, 873 save percentage for Prosvetov last year. Now, he was playing with Arizona last year, an Arizona team that was, bottom tier squad last season, but still not the numbers you want to see when when you're a favorite of this price range here, -220, -230. And I think that's a big reason why the money's come in here on St. Louis. I honestly don't know if I trust the Blues enough, though. Even with the Avs struggling, coming back off a road trip. It was only a 3-game road trip. I should point that out. It's not like they've been on the road forever. The Islander game and then the Penguin and the Sabre game. So it's not like this brutal spot here for Colorado. And if anything, look, they're going to probably want to play sturdy, solid defense in front of their goaltender. I'll say this right now. I got it wrong with St. Louis as far as I thought they'd be an over team this year because I thought they'd be able to score goals. They really haven't been able to consistently. I mean, you look at their numbers, they scored 1 against Dallas, 2 against Seattle, 2 against Arizona. They had 4 goals against Pittsburgh, which was, I think, the high water mark, and 2 against Winnipeg, 3 against Calgary, and then shut out by Vancouver in their last game. So they've really struggled to score. But defensively, they've actually been better than I thought. They have the shutout win against Calgary. They held Pittsburgh to 2 goals. And Seattle and Dallas early in the year, they held those teams to 2 goals or less. So they've actually been a little bit better defensively than I thought. They've been a heavy under-trending team as well. And they've also adjusted their coaching staff as well. They've got Mike Van Ryan now on the coaching staff, and someone that's a Blues fan actually mentioned this to me, that they really have been focusing on playing more tighter style of game because they really think that they're going to have to play, that kind of 2-1, 3-1 style of hockey this year in order to have success. And so far, that's exactly what they have played like in their games stylistically. 5-1 to the under for the St. Louis Blues so far this season. So I actually think this could be lower scoring. Colorado is suddenly scuffling a little bit offensively. But at the same, and you are getting a 6.5, but at the same time, there's a part of me that's absolutely petrified to recommend an under when it's a real giant unknown in net with Prosvetov. Now, Prosvetov's going to have a better team in front of him. Let's not forget that. The numbers were not good last year, but you're going to compare to Arizona's the Arizona blue line last year to what he's got here in Colorado. You can't really, you can't really compare the two. So definitely when I look at this situation here for the St. Louis Blues, to me, as you can tell, based on the fact I'm talking in circles about this game, that is really, I don't have a strong feel for it either way. I don't want to lay this price with the Avalanche with Prosvetov, even though they'll probably have the potential to snap out of their funk at some point. I don't know if that's going to be tonight necessarily. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, for me, I'm going to probably stay off side and total in this game and maybe look at props more than anything here in this game. And there are a few props that do. So I will have some action on this game, but it'll probably mostly be props. We do have some line change stuff that, again, we like to look at these situations throughout the year, underpriced players when they're moving up the lineup. And we have one on St. Louis here. We've got Kasperi Kapanen up to the top line tonight with Robert Thomas and Pavel Buchnevich. So that is definitely something to keep an eye on. This is a player that's going to get more opportunity. He's also going to be on the second power play unit tonight in this game for the St. Louis Blues. So a little bit of an opportunity for him now to maybe make an impact. If you look at Kapanen here for the Blues in their last few games, things have been a little bit better for him. He's got at least 3 points in the last 4 games, scored a goal for them against the Calgary Flames when they had that 3-0 shutout win. So he's definitely got some prop value tonight, given the bump in the lineup that we're seeing for Kapanen here tonight for the St. Louis Blues. And you can find him at plus 480 at FanDuel tonight in order to find the back of the net. And then on the flip side, you've got Jared Bednar, who is really busting out the blender with his line combinations right now for the Colorado Avalanche. And to the point where you've got Thomas Tatar and Jonathan Drouin healthy scratches for this game tonight. Neither one is going to play. That did not last long as far as the Jonathan Drouin. We were talking about how good he was looking early in the season. He was making an impact. He was scoring some points. And then all of a sudden, we see the last few games, his defensive game hasn't been great. I know Jared Bednar, the coaching staff, haven't been thrilled with that. The offensive production has dissipated in recent games for Drouin. Since that LA game on October 11th, he has not registered a point for the Colorado Avalanche. So he's riding the pine tonight, Jonathan Drouin, as is Thomas Tatar, who has 4 assists on the season, but is yet to find the back of the net. Kind of counting on him for offense. And he's one of those guys that he's not great away from the puck. So if he's not scoring for you, what good is he? What is he doing to help the hockey team? And the answer is not very much. So Thomas Tatar, Jonathan Drouin are sitting. He's going to keep the McKinnon, Rantanen. Actually, he's not keeping it intact, but he's getting Rantanen back on the top line with Lehkonen, moving Big Val Nichushkin down to the second line with Ryan Johansson. And how about this for a promotion? Here's your value guy for Colorado. Up to the second line, Riley Tufte. And not only up to the second line, but this is a guy that was recalled from the American Hockey League. He's had an outstanding start. He was actually very good in preseason for Colorado as well. Riley Tufte, he's gotten off to a great start in the AHL. 6 goals, 8 points in just 6 games. More than a point per game player down there. Not only going to be playing for the Avalanche tonight, but playing on the second line for them as well in this game tonight. So I mentioned Kapanen getting the big bump for St. Louis. It's Riley Tufte from the minors up to the Avalanche in the lineup tonight and on the second line. And I see plus 550 for him to score a goal tonight in this game at FanDuel. So outstanding value. Take a shot. Riley Tufte, a guy that's been, now there's always that question when a guy's jumping up from the AHL. Yeah, you've been scoring and you've been producing and you've been getting your goals and getting your assists and getting your points in the AHL. Can you reproduce that and can you replicate that, at the NHL level? That's always the question, but he's certainly going to get the opportunity here for the Colorado Avalanche tonight. So there you go. Riley Tufte, likely to be on the second line with Johansson and Big Val Nichushkin for the Avs tonight. So definitely underrated there as far as player prop value in this game tonight. We do have breaking news. I am seeing that now as well for the Ottawa Senators, that they have fired general manager Pierre Dorion. And I am not shocked. Not shocked in the least. Not only that, penalty they suffered at the Dodonov trade, and that sanction came down earlier today with the Dodonov stuff. They had to forfeit draft picks because of it, and you have to blame the GM for that. The GM, has to be one that doesn't get involved in shit like that, and they have to forfeit their first-round pick in one of the next 3 drafts for their role in the trade that got aborted from Vegas to Anaheim. That was just a major screw up and the GM has the has to take the responsibility. You're the guy that oversees the trades. You're the one that finalizes and closes these deals. You're involved in something like that. You got to take responsibility for it. That's number one. Number two, he's a bit of a little Napoleon here, this guy. As far as, he's kind of a guy that beats to his own drum. Jimmy Murphy's hinted at this. He's got these people that work with him, assistant GMs, consultants, and they'll feed him advice. They'll feed him their opinion, and he'll just basically shoot it all down and still end up doing whatever the fuck he wants anyway. He's had that kind of brazen attitude, apparently behind the scenes in the front office. So kind of a guy that, he hires these people to help him in supporting roles, and yet he's going to shoot him down and just go with what he wants to do anyway. So he's kind of had that kind of, crack the whip type of mentality and behavior as the general manager of Ottawa. So I don't think that really went over well with a lot of people in the organization as far as Dorion is concerned. He certainly made some mistakes. There's no question about that. And we have seen evidence of that in the past. But I think when you look at the other reason that he's been fired, you've got a new owner here in Michael Landauer. And Michael Landauer is inheriting him as the GM. And I think Michael Landauer, this is now with this, forfeiting the draft pick, this Dodonov aborted trade that Dorion's got to fall on the sword for being announced today. The fact, your team has gotten off to is cooled off after a pretty decent start. And the fact you're a new owner, you want your guys in there. I think this was the perfect opportunity for Michael Landauer to make that change and fire the general manager here, Pierre Dorion. And I'll tell you right now who I think the new GM is going to be. It's going to be Steve Staios. He loves Steve Staios. I saw it here right in my hometown of Hamilton. Michael Landauer was the owner of the Hamilton Bulldogs of the AHL, then the OHL. And Steve Staios was the GM of that team. Landauer hired him to be the Bulldogs GM. Now, of course, he's got Steve Staios now in the Ottawa Senators organization. I think it's only a matter of time before Steve Staios becomes the GM. I would be surprised if he looks outside of in-house, if you will, outside the house, if you will, for a GM. I think it's going to be Staios, quite honestly. Now, I could be wrong, but I just think that's going to end up being the case because he's definitely had a good business relationship, working relationship with Staios. Staios has, been in management roles long enough now where I think he's earned the opportunity to see what he's got as a GM in the NHL. So I would expect Steve Staios to end up being the guy that ends up being the general manager here for the Ottawa Senators. But yeah, that's the big news. Pierre Dorion out as Ottawa Senators general manager. No news on DJ Smith. DJ Smith was not part of that announcement. There was no DJ Smith announcement as to him being fired, but now he's on thin ice because Staios or whoever takes over as GM, you know how that works. They want their own head coach a lot of the time. Brad Treliving keeping Sheldon Keefe, that doesn't happen every day. A lot of times GMs want their own man in position there at as the head coach. So we'll see how things transpire in Ottawa moving forward. All right, we've got our fourth and final game of this Wednesday night slate. And I'll tell you what, if you would have said to me last year, 2 years ago, Arizona, Anaheim, I said, they could put the Coyotes and the Ducks in my backyard, I'd shut the blinds. That's what I would have said last year, certainly 2 years ago. But now you see Arizona, Anaheim, and I'm thinking, wow, I'm pretty excited about this game. These are two up-and-comers, two good young teams, two teams that are going to be ascending in the Western Conference over the next few years. And here they are meeting up again for the second time this season. They played previously in Arizona in the bandbox there, Mullet Arena, and Arizona won that game 2-1. This is the rematch. Arizona minus 130, road favorite, 6.5 the total in this game. Arizona just absolutely pounded the piss out of the Chicago Blackhawks the other night, 8-1 beat down over the Chicago Blackhawks. All Arizona, pretty impressive game from them. Their offense springing to life as well. Really outside of when they played this Ducks team, they only scored 2. They won the game, but they only scored 2. But other than that, they put up a 6 spot on St. Louis, scored 3 against a good Kings team, scored 4 against LA early in that game, although that was a lot of bad goaltending from Phoenix Copley. But they still scored 4 goals in that game. And then obviously the onslaught on Monday night against the Chicago Blackhawks against Arvid Soderblom, who became Arvid Soderbum again. Apparently in that game. And I said it yesterday, and I don't know if Alex saw the show yesterday, but I know he's in the chat right now. He warned everybody, don't get too high on this good start for Soderblom. Don't get too excited about it. At some point, we're going to see a downfall and a decline and a regression. And the regression machine hit him hard Monday night against this Arizona Coyotes team. But Arizona, I like what I see. I really do. It's a team we've been looking to back this year. Now, we've been looking to back them more as underdogs and better prices than what we saw on Monday against Chicago. And they are a favorite here. They're a better favorite here, but minus 130 here in this game. Playing great. Logan Cooley, Barrett Hayton, Clayton Keller, Nick Schmaltz, Sean Dursey. We're going to be betting goal and assist props for this guy again. He's been our Joe Veleno of the Western Conference. I mean, it's just totally undervalued, shooting the puck a ton. And you see what he's done. I mean, if you have been betting Sean Dursey to score in each of the last 5 games, and of course he scored 3 goals in those 5 games, I mean, you're way up plus units. You could lose a bunch in a row, and that's why I keep betting it. He scored in 3 of the last 5 games for the Coyotes from the blue line, and the odds for him to score are usually around plus 600. So you could lose pretty much the next 7 or 8 games with Sean Dursey goal props, and you could still be plus units. That's the benefit of taking these long shot goal props. And we are certainly seeing that right now with a guy like Sean Dursey, who's been excellent offensively. How about the night from Michael Carcone as well for the Coyotes against Chicago? Had a hat trick in that game. Career night, 3 goals, 1 assist, 4 points. Keep in mind, this is a guy, he does play on the second power play unit for the Arizona Coyotes, but he only plays on the third line for them with Cooley and Boyd. So very impressive numbers for him. No question about that. We'll see if Arizona can keep up the winning ways tonight against Anaheim. That's going to be the question. Can they keep it going? Because I said it after the Pittsburgh game in my rant. If you've missed it yesterday, I was very, very agitated by that Anaheim-Pittsburgh game. Very much agitated by that Pittsburgh-Anaheim game yesterday. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And Anaheim is really, I've had to upgrade Anaheim in my power ratings, them and Vancouver. And I'm going to finally, I apologize for the Patreon folks and the community members as well. I haven't gotten around to posting the power ratings for this week yet. That will happen later today. You will see them. And you will also see that Anaheim and Vancouver have been two of my biggest power ratings jumpers this year in a positive. I'm very impressed with the development in this young group, the improvement in this young group. Are they a great defensive team yet? No, but they're certainly playing harder away from the puck than they did previously. And obviously, they've got the potential to be a good offensive team. And they really did show it during that very impressive road trip that they just completed. 4-0 on that road trip: Columbus, Boston, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh. And that Pittsburgh game, every damn thing went against them in that game. 5-on-3 for 2 minutes for pretty much twice in that game for Pittsburgh. The first one was a complete joke that they got a 5-on-3 for a full 2 minutes. First of all, as I said, that shouldn't have been goalie interference. And second of all, that's a disgrace that they threw Cronin out of the game misconduct, and gave him a 2-minute bench minor for arguing what was a bad call to begin with. And gave him a 2-minute bench minor and put Pittsburgh on a 5-on-3 for 2 minutes. That's the refs putting their hand in the cookie jar and trying to decide the game and trying to make too much of an impact, trying to take over the game. I said that yesterday. It was absolutely ridiculous what I was seeing in that Anaheim-Pittsburgh game. Just embarrassing to see that level of officiating. But nevertheless, credit to Anaheim. This young group, things were conspiring against them. They hung in there. They tied the game in the third. And then Mason McTavish out of the penalty box with a short-handed breakaway goal to win 4-3. You know what they also showed me, not to mention that they're winning games. They're playing better defensively. Gibson and Dostal, the two goalies, have been solid. The offense and the capabilities there at that end of the ice certainly are there. What they've showed me more than anything is mental toughness. In that, it's so easy to say, fuck this. This is not our night. We can't get a call. We're not getting a good whistle from the ref tonight. Pittsburgh's getting every break in the book. It's just not our night. They didn't do that. They kept battling. They kept trying to find a way to win that game against Pittsburgh the other night, and they eventually did. That shows a lot to me, that you're mentally resilient, you're mentally tough, and I thought that was a great display by Anaheim. So, I want to keep riding Anaheim. I do. I worry about, you had this 4-0 road trip. You're back home. It's only basically 48 hours from that final game in Pittsburgh. That was a emotional game. I just worry if there's anything left in the gas tank for Anaheim. The Pittsburgh to Anaheim, east to west travel. I just don't love this spot for Anaheim. Otherwise, I'd be on them tonight. In this game at plus 110, plus 115. I'm not laying it with Arizona either, but I think it's pretty tricky here for Anaheim. You had a perfect clean sweep road trip. You had some tough games. You had 2 overtime games. You had that crazy ending with Pittsburgh, went down to the wire. You won it in the final seconds, and now you're turning around, and basically 2 days later, you're playing again. That's tough. That's a real tough assignment, in my opinion, in this game. So I would lean to the draw a little bit here. I mean, we are seeing Anaheim play some close games right now. 4 straight wins. 3 of those wins were 1-goal decisions. 2 of those games went to overtime. They played earlier this year in Arizona. That game could have went to overtime. And in fact, you look at series history since January of last year, the last 3 meetings, 2 of them have gone to overtime between these two teams. And then, of course, earlier this year, it narrowly missed going to overtime, 2-1 for Arizona back on October 21st. So I think the draw is a good look tonight. In this game, that's what I like more than anything here. A pretty tight game. I think Arizona on the road. It's going to be one thing too about Anaheim. If you look at their home performances this year, they've been solid for the most part. The Boston game, they actually outplayed the Bruins. Could have won it. The Dallas game, they lost at home, but they outplayed Dallas slightly. They could have won it. They had the win against Carolina. I know they've only had those 3 home games, and they're 1-2. But the 2 losses, Boston in the game. Maybe even say it was dead even, or they outplayed the Bruins slightly, and say the same thing about the loss to Dallas at home, where it was an even game. And maybe even then they outplayed the Stars slightly in that home game, even though they didn't get the result and they lost that game. So for me, Eileen, I'm not stepping in front of Anaheim, even with the bad spot, the tricky spot at least. I worry if they can overcome it here. But I like the draw. I think the draw is even the better value here than the plus 110 because the one thing is that even though there's a tricky spot, I think Anaheim can hang in there and at least have a chance here in this game. And I like the very tight one-goal nature of the recent head-to-head meetings between the Coyotes and Ducks. So you can get plus 342 at Pinnacle with the draw in this game. I'm going to see if I can find another the FanDuel price, which oftentimes I'm noticing the FanDuel price is probably the best price you can find out there as far as a lot of these draw bets. So I look at it here with Arizona and Anaheim, and we see three-way money line here is plus 380. So don't bet it at Pinnacle, bet it at FanDuel, plus 380 with the draw in this game. Great price. I think it's got a real shot. Alex really likes Anaheim, and I like him too. I really liked them the other night. That was a great spot. They're playing well. They're up for Pittsburgh. I just worry about the long travel. I really do. Coming back home. Now you're only a plus 110, plus 115. I just worry about that a little bit. But I love the way this team's playing. I'm certainly not rushing to bet against Anaheim right now. I lean Anaheim, but I like the draw. I just think the draw's in a good situation. A lot of one-goal games between these two teams, and a great price, obviously, plus 3. I'd actually lean to the over in this game. You're coming back home off a long road trip. I get it. We saw 2-1 with Arizona victorious against Anaheim a couple weeks ago. But this game is different. Arizona offensively has really started to percolate, scoring goals in bunches. We look at what they've done, 3, 4, and 8. That's 15 goals in the last 3 games. Now, skewed by that Chicago game, obviously, but they're scoring goals pretty well. So is Anaheim. Anaheim with 15 goals in the last 3 games as well. And they have scored at least 3 goals in 4 straight games. So 6.5, I do like this over. And I could see with the Anaheim jet lag and the Anaheim road-weary travel legs showing up maybe tonight in this game where maybe defensively there's some blunders that Arizona can capitalize on. But on the flip side here, I like what I'm seeing from the Arizona offense. I like what I'm seeing from their power play, which has scored 3 power play goals in the last 2 games. And the one issue that Arizona's had recently is the penalty kill. They have given up at least 1 power play goal in all but 2 of their games this year so far. So it hasn't been a great penalty kill on the season for the Arizona Coyotes. So definitely I think we could see some goals tonight based on the spot with Anaheim coming back home in this one. The goaltending matchup will be Karel Vejmelka for the Arizona Coyotes and Lucas Dostal for the Anaheim Ducks. And to me, even though John Gibson's out, I don't think there's a boatload of difference between the 2 goalies right now. He's actually had some decent numbers this year, 282, 902 save percentage, 282 goals against for Gibson. But Dostal's been really good. 4-1, 2.79 goals against average, 921 save percentage. He's on a 3-game winning streak coming into this game tonight against Arizona. So they've gotten some good goaltending out of Dostal. And we'll see if that can carry over to this game. As far as the props go, this might be a good game, I think, for props. We're still waiting on goal number 1 for Logan Cooley. It's coming. I mean, it's chances again the other night, but couldn't finish it. Cooley goal and assist. I like it. Sean Durzi, it goes without saying. We like his props. Maybe you ride the hot hand with Carcone. I think Matias Michelli might be worth a look too for Arizona. And then on the other side, Mason McTavish is just, and Vetrano are just, if you're not betting those 2 players nightly right now for the Anaheim Ducks, you're missing the boat. I mean, they have been outstanding to begin the year. They're making an impact almost every single night. And we're seeing now the Mason McTavish I saw here in Hamilton with the Bulldogs in his junior days. This guy's a hell of a player. He really, really is. He's on a 5-game point streak. He's got 8 points in those 5 games for Anaheim. He has 4 goals in the last 5 games as well. He had that gorgeous breakaway shorthanded goal to win the game the other night against Pittsburgh. So Mason McTavish for sure. We like the props there. Frank the Tank Vetrano, this is insane. 9 goals already for Frank Vetrano this year in that same number of games. 9 goals, 9 games for Frank Vetrano. 4 goals in the last 2 games alone. He's just been, he's got to cool off at some point, but until you see that him cool off, you got to keep betting the props involving Frank Vetrano here moving forward. You got to keep rolling with it. Those are the 2 guys that are really getting the job done for the Anaheim Ducks right now. And you know what's funny is those two guys have been terrific offensively, but we aren't talking about too much. There's the other candidates who can step up for them, like Leo Carlsson, who already has 3 points and a couple of goals this year for a guy that's just getting his feet wet in the NHL. What about what Ryan Strome is doing lately? He's on a 5-game point streak with 8 points, 2 goals in the last 5 games for Anaheim. Zegras is slowly starting to percolate, work his way back from a late start to his season because he was out of training camp for much of it with the contract impasse. Well, now he has a goal toward the end of that road trip. Troy Terry always is a threat, as we know. So that's been the impressive part. Terry and Zegras haven't been always contributing nightly offensively, but they're getting McTavish rolling early in the year. They're getting Vetrano on this heater to begin the year for them. Ryan Strome's had a solid year. Adam Henrique chips in for them. So it's been a really impressive team effort from Anaheim. And I love Greg Cronin. I love me some Greg Cronin. I love that he went after the refs the other night. It was the right call. That was an absolute joke that was goalie interference. Ridiculous. Totally absurd that's goalie interference. What if you actually ram into the goalie? I mean, that was just absolutely asinine. The whole sequence was asinine. It was asinine. It was goalie interference. It was even worse that they gave Anaheim a bench minor for him voicing his displeasure about a call that was bad to begin with and then ejecting him from the game and giving him a game misconduct. That was even worse. The whole sequence was an absolute indictment of how to officiate an NHL game properly. It's simple as that. And Anaheim somehow overcame it. So very, very interested to see how this game plays out. Looking forward to it here tonight. All right, great stuff. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. 184 live viewers. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. Yeah, Lonnie, the goalie interference call was bad. I actually was even angrier with what they did after, with tossing Cronin and giving the team an extra 2-minute penalty when Pittsburgh was already getting a power play for the delay of game because of the challenge failing. They had already were on the power play, and you gave Cronin a 2-minute extra penalty. Couldn't even say, you can't even say shit anymore to these refs. Really, I mean, that's where we're at. I mentioned the MLB reference yesterday. Managers in baseball can't even say anything to these guys anymore. Right away, you say one thing to them, you're out, toss you out. I mean, that's the thing that I can't stand. Whatever happened to being able to criticize it? These guys need to be held to a high standard. You need to hold them accountable for when there's a fuck up and there's a screw up. These guys don't answer the bell enough, when they make mistakes. And that's a problem. And we're seeing it across the board right now. And that's the problem now with all these sports. They got the little Napoleon complex and these, soft umpires and refs that as soon as you get in their grill and yell at them and criticize one of their calls, they just throw it right back at you with an ejection from the game, an extra 2-minute penalty in a hockey game, an unsportsmanlike in a football game, a technical foul in a basketball game, throw you out of the game in baseball. I mean, it's everywhere. I mean, you can't even say anything anymore. What happened to actually, if it's legitimately a bad call and you're yelling at the ref for it and he's tossing you out of the game, you got to, if you're the league, come in there and get that referee in the situation room or talk to, Bill Daly or Peros or one of those, or Chris King, I think, is one of the guys too that mans the video, and say, bring him in, this ref, and say, why did you give Cronin that 2-minute penalty, bench minor, when it was a bad call to begin with? Why did you do that when he actually had a valid reason for being upset? Why did you do that? Why did you throw him out of the game like that when he was actually right as rain to be upset about that call for goalie interference? You get in there and you say, clean it up, be better, be better at your job, or maybe we're gonna give you less games. We're gonna suspend you for a few. I don't think they'd ever terminate refs just for an incident like that, but I'm not asking for that. But you got to get these refs to realize that they've got to be better in certain situations. And that was a situation the other night in that Anaheim-Pittsburgh game where they had to be better than they were. Simple. And we didn't see that. All right. Good stuff from everybody. We appreciate it very much. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. And again, make sure you sign up for the Ice Guys family plan. It's just $9.99 a month. Our daily betting card, player props are going to be there. Well, finally, for my part, get the power ratings up for the community tab. Community tab will just be the top 5 teams. The entire list of the power ratings. The NHL weekly power ratings will be on the Patreon page, patreon.com/iceguys. So you can check it out there. And we will make an announcement. Alex will be back in the fold tomorrow. I'll chat with him about when we're going to finalize these betcast dates for the month of November. So we're going to get that announced by the end of the week for sure. Our two betcasts, our regular normal monthly betcast, which will be free for all, public to all, and then the other one, which will be a members only Ice Guys Family Plan YouTube channel subscriber member only betcast, where only the Ice Guys Family Plan members will be invited and be able to watch the betcast stream as it unfolds. So we will make those two betcast date announcements for the month of November by the end of the week. 20% off and everything in the Ice Guys store as well, as Alex says in the chat. Make sure you check that out as well. All right, bargain bin special of the night. I guess you could say this is our first extended skid with the bargain bin special of the night. But, man, we've had some close calls. I mean, Trevor Moore had a million chances last night for the LA Kings and just could not get the job done in that game for them. So that was unfortunate to see it fall short just like that. So we'll see what we can find here tonight as far as player prop is concerned. And for me, as far as the player props go, let me just see what we've got here. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back actually right now to, I'm just checking out. Okay. Hold on here. Okay. I'm thinking about this one here. It's a trickier one as far as I'm concerned. But I'm going to go with it here. I'm going to settle on this one. I like it because they've been raving about him. I remember watching a couple games in the preseason with him playing for this team. He's obviously been ripping it up in the AHL. He's going to play tonight. He's going to be in the lineup. He's going to be on the second line. Price is excellent. Riley Tufte for the Colorado Avalanche. I was actually going to go with one of either Vetrano or McTavish for Anaheim, but both of those guys now are below plus 300. They finally made some adjustments there with their goal prop, so it doesn't fit the bargain bin price requirement. They're both below plus 300 now. So I'm going to go to that St. Louis, Colorado game, and I'm going to go with Riley Tufte for the Colorado Avalanche at plus 550 at Caesars. Now, again, tearing it up in the AHL. 8 points and 6 goals in 6 games down there. And given an opportunity by Jared Bednar here on the second line tonight in a top 6 role for a team that's been shut out, blanked in each of their last 2 games. So a big opportunity for him. See if he can cash in on it. And he played well in the preseason for Colorado as well. Riley Tufte, plus 550 for my bargain bin special of the night. For this Wednesday card, Riley Tufte of the Colorado Avalanche. All right, best bet here for this Wednesday card. This Wednesday slate is not a huge card, but we do have some interesting spots to go with here going into this matchup. I am going to go with, I feel like based on everything I've read, we have really seen a focus toward, we got to get something going offensively for the Calgary Flames. And it's not going to be easy when they're facing a guy like Jay Gottinger, and the Stars can be pretty good defensively. But we did see them give up 3 goals, and they looked uncharacteristically off their game a little bit defensively against the Jackets. They also gave up 4 goals to Toronto in a loss last week. 5.5 when I know Calgary is going to be really looking to pump up the ante offensively. Now, the question is, are they capable of it? They've not been scoring. But at 5.5, we have a strong series history last year where we had a couple of 6-5 games as well as a 5-4 game head-to-head between the Stars and the Flames. I will go ahead with it for best bet here for this Wednesday card. Dallas and Calgary will go over 5.5, minus 120 with the Stars and the Flames. We're not asking for 4-3. We're not asking for a huge shootout. 6 goals gets us there, and I think on this, and Dallas is fine offensively. Dallas is scoring goals. That's not an issue for them. It has been for Calgary, but all the practice focus for Ryan Huska's team the last few days has been trying to kickstart a stagnant offense. They're shaking things up with the lineup, and in this case, it's not a bad thing because the lineups you've had haven't produced anything. The lineups you've been using lately for Calgary, they haven't produced jack shit offensively. So I think it's a good spot. Buy low on the Flames offense to show a little life tonight at home. And I think Dallas will get theirs as well. Dallas, Calgary over 5.5, -120 for my best bet. That'll wrap up this edition of the show. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. And if you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. I'm Ian Cameron. We'll see you again tomorrow on Thursday for another edition of the Ice Guys.